Comrades and friends, welcome to the program Global Weekly News, serial number 167. First item, Global Sumut Flotilla ready to break Israel's blockade of Gaza. In July 2025, a new international maritime initiative was launched as part of the pro-Palestine movement. The Global Sumut Flotilla. Flotilla means a couple of ships or boats. It was formed by four major coalitions: the Global Campaign to Return to Palestine, the Freedom Flotilla Coalition, etc. The Global Sumut Flotilla is set to depart on 31st August 2025. Its goals are clear: to break Israel's illegal blockade on Gaza, to deliver urgent humanitarian aid, and to expose the genocidal war waged on Palestinians by Israel. The flotilla is composed of dozens of small civilian vessels carrying activists, MPs, doctors, and trade unionists alongside humanitarian cargo. More than 39 national delegations have pledged participation. This is not the first flotilla of its kind this year. The Handala and Madeleine, two of the Freedom Flotilla's flagship vessels, also set sail in an attempt to break the blockade of Gaza. However, they were attacked by drones and stormed by Israeli forces. Passengers were beaten, kidnapped, and deported. Phones were confiscated. Activists were interrogated, and many went on hunger strike to protest their detention. Civilian vessels carrying humanitarian aid in international waters are protected under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Israel's interception of the Handala and Madeleine constitutes nothing less than piracy and a war crime. Greek dock workers refused to load weapons for Israel. As the flotilla prepares to set sail with more than 50 ships, its message resounds across seas and continents. The Israeli seas must fall. Gaza must live. Palestine must be free. Free Palestine. From Europe, 13,000 to 14,000 containers leave for Israel every year. Not one single nail will get out of our ports, the dock workers of Geneva warned. The Global Sumut Flotilla is expected to reach Gaza by mid-September. Before the flotilla set sail, Israeli Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir threatened to classify the crew as terrorists, subjecting them to imprisonment in high-security prisons for attempting to deliver food and medicine to Gaza. Comrades and friends, second, we go to China. China celebrates 80th anniversary of victory over Japanese occupation. The Chinese resistance to the Japanese occupation began in 1931 after Japan occupied a large part of Manchuria. The war cost the Chinese over 3.5 crore lives, including military personnel and civilians. Finally, on 2nd September 1945, Japan officially surrendered. The Chinese marked 3rd September as Victory Day. On 3rd September, China celebrated the 80th anniversary of its victory against the Japanese occupation during World War II. A massive military parade of 12,000 troops, along with its most modern weapons, at Tiananmen Square in Beijing to mark the occasion. The victory celebrations were attended by more than 20 foreign heads of states, including President of Russia, Iran, and Indonesia, and Prime Minister of Pakistan, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, etc. Speaking on the occasion, Chinese President Xi Jinping noted that the Chinese people have contributed and sacrificed immensely during the Second World War for the salvation of human civilization and the defense of world peace. Xi Jinping warned, only when nations across the world treat each other as equals, live in harmony and mutually support one another can common security be safeguarded, the root cause of war eliminated, and historical tragedies prevented from recurring. Third item, comrades, now we go to Belgium. Belgium edges towards Palestine recognition. Belgium has become the latest European country to announce steps towards recognizing a Palestinian state. The recognition will reportedly be accompanied by other measures targeting Israeli settlers and certain government officials, but it is also being made conditional on the suppression of Hamas and the return of Israeli hostages. Peter Mertens, Secretary General of the Workers' Party of Belgium, said the fact measures were finally being considered in a positive but called their content disappointing. They are mainly aimed at saving the government, not the Palestinian people, he said. Together with the progressive groups and trade unions, the Workers' Party of Belgium has spent months calling for stronger action against Israel, including the expulsion of the Israeli ambassador and the severing of all economic ties with the occupation entity. At the same time, the party criticized Belgium and the European Union for continuing to support Israel politically and economically, even when officials started to publicly refer to the grave humanitarian situation in Gaza. Peter Mertens said, above all, this proves that pressure from below must continue and that we must make the 7th September demonstration for Palestine a great success. Fourth item, comrades. Second Annual People's Conference for Palestine. The Second Annual People's Conference for Palestine closed out on 31st August after 3 days of plenaries, workshops and sessions on the global movement for Palestine. On the final day, this conference was held in Detroit of Michigan of USA. On the final day, Rashida Tlaib, the first Palestinian American woman elected to American Congress, closed out the conference by calling a campaign to kick AIPAC, AIPAC out of US politics. AIPAC means the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, that is AIPAC, is one of the most powerful lobbying groups in the US. It advocates for strong US-Israel relations and works to influence US foreign policy in Israel's favor. AIPAC organized trips and briefings and channelizing fundraising networks towards candidates who align with its agenda. Rashida spoke on the last day of the conference. More Americans than ever are now signing the Take AIPAC Out of US Politics petition. According to the lobbying group, all 129 AIPAC-backed Democrats who have had their primary races in 2024 have won. AIPAC spent lots of money to sponsor the candidates who would take the congressional seats of representatives in New York and Missouri, both of whom represented the most staunchly pro-Palestine wing of the Democratic Party within Congress. The AIPAC Out of US Politics campaign website claims the lobbying group threatens free speech, devastates workers' economic interests, advocates for endless wars, and sabotages international diplomacy, all at the cost and against the will of the American people. Comrade, there was an important summit in China, SCO summit at Tianjin, Shanghai Cooperation Organization. The 25th Heads of State Summit of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization (SCO) concluded in Tianjin, China on 1st September with the adoption of the Tianjin Declaration, which calls for a peaceful and equitable global governance and increased South-South cooperation. SCO adopted a strategy for the development of the bloc in the next 10 years, reiterating its faith in international law and the UN Charter. This year's summit was the group's largest, with the participation of 26 nation states and 10 global organizations. The Tianjin Declaration condemned all forms of unilateral actions, including the tariff wars, and called for a multilateral, equitable, rules-based and just world order. All the SCO members, Shanghai Cooperation Organization members, condemned Israel's war in Gaza, which has killed over 70,000 Palestinians in nearly 2 years, and demanded the immediate end of the war and the creation of an independent Palestinian state. The summit was attended by Presidents of China, Russia, Iran, and Prime Ministers of India, Pakistan, and leaders of the Central Asian republics, among others. The original Shanghai Five, which was formed in 1996 with China, Russia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan, became the Shanghai Cooperation Organization in 2001, with Uzbekistan joining the grouping. From the original 6, its membership has now grown to 10, with India, Pakistan, Iran, and Belarus joining as members in later years. SCO members today represent nearly half of the world's population and a quarter of the global economy. The SCO Plus at Tianjin was attended by observer states and 14 dialogue partners, including Turkey President Erdogan. During his formal address on 1st September, President of China Xi Jinping emphasized that the SCO should advocate an equal and orderly multipolar world and a universally beneficial and inclusive economic globalization, and make the global governance system more just and equitable. Xi reiterated the 5 basic principles of the Global Governance Initiative. First, sovereign equality. Second, international rule of law. Third, multilateralism. Fourth, people-centered approach. Fifth, focus on taking real actions. Xi Jinping hopes the SCO Development Bank would be established soon and announced around $28.1 crore in grants to member states within this year, another $140 crore over the next 3 years. Xi Jinping also noted that China's bilateral trade with the SCO members is more than $50,000 crore as of now, with its total investments in these countries topping $8,400 crore, and hope that this would increase further with growing connectivity and cooperation. Putin, President of Russia, announced that Russia will be hosting an Intervision song contest where participants from Asia, Africa, and Latin America will perform as an alternative to Eurovision. Iranian President Pezeshkian proposed the objective of reducing dependence on the US dollar in international trade and enhance the trade settlement in national currencies. The Tianjin Declaration also outlined programs to enhance cooperation among the member countries on issues such as drug trafficking, counter-terrorism, artificial intelligence, and environment, among others. Now we go to Croatia. Sixth item. Croatian media workers protest attacks on Gaza journalists. The trade union of Croatian journalists, together with the Croatian Journalists Association, appealed to other labor groups and the wider public to join a protest on 28 August in response to the genocide in Gaza and the deliberate killing of more than 240 Palestinian reporters. When mainstream media silences the violence against Gaza's civilian population, when they silence the genocide, there is a danger of normalizing the war and occupation. Silence or neutrality in this case truly amounts to participation in covering up the crime. In recent months, journalist associations in Croatia organized a collaborative project with local artists who produced dozens of portraits of journalists killed by Israeli occupation since 2023 October 7. Union members and cultural workers carried these prints in a march towards the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, where they reiterated demands for the Croatian government to act against the genocide. SEVER, SEVER, SEVER of Free Palestine Initiative said, the role of trade unions is much broader than the common perception that unions are solely connected with protecting labor rights and working conditions. They are social actors with the power and obligation to respond when serious crimes and mass violations of human rights are taking place before the eyes of the world. Seventh item, comrades, we go to Pakistan, our neighboring country. Representatives are there on the opposition party. Former Prime Minister Imran Khan was arrested on 9th May 2023 in what is popularly known as the Tosakana case. Tosakana case means wrongful selling of state gifts. Large-scale protests broke out all over the country. In some places, the protesters attacked some officials and army installations as well. Though Imran Khan was later released on bail, the state filed numerous cases against the protesters. Thousands of PTI, the main opposition party of Imran Khan, workers and leaders were arrested on charges of rioting, attempted murder and other criminal charges. A large number of these leaders and workers have spent the last 2 years behind bars. Earlier this week, a local court in Faisalabad in Pakistan's Punjab province sentenced the 59 top leaders of PTI party to 10 years in jail for participating in protests against the imprisonment of PTI leader Imran Khan in May 2023. Imran Khan was re-arrested in August 2023 after a new government led by Shehbaz Sharif filed over 100 cases against him pertaining to corruption, mismanagement and even sedition. Lastly, comrades, we go to the famous place of May Day Martyrs, Chicago. Chicago will become the second US city to experience a federal takeover after Trump declared a national crime emergency and sent roughly 800 troops to Washington, D.C. The president is threatening to occupy our bloc-led city with federal troops, wrote the Chicago Teachers Union on X. Organizers with the Answer Coalition and the Party for Socialism and Liberation are planning a protest against the federal crackdown on Chicago. Thank you, comrades. Lal Salam. Share this podcast among your friends, and if you have any comments, please put in. Lal Salam.